Let's be brutally honest with each other for a moment. The world of finance is deliberately designed to feel like an exclusive club, a complex fortress where the average person is kept outside the walls, only hearing whispers of the fortunes being made within. And the story of the Iraqi dinar has been the ultimate example of this, a saga shrouded in so much mystery, intentional misinformation, and outright dismissal by the mainstream financial media that most people have simply given up, tuning out the signal because of all the relentless noise. But I need you to listen to me right now, to truly hear what I am about to say, because the fortified walls of that exclusive club are beginning to crack, and the seismic shockwave emanating from Baghdad is not just another rumor, it is the sound of a paradigm shattering into a million pieces, the long-awaited catalyst for a monetary event so profound that it will be taught in economic textbooks for generations to come. What we are witnessing is the meticulous, deliberate, and undeniable unraveling of a decades-long economic suppression, a carefully orchestrated sequence of events that is methodically paving the way for the Iraqi dinar to reclaim its sovereign value, a value that has been strategically held down by the aftermath of war, by international sanctions, and by a global financial system that benefits from a weak Middle Eastern currency. The reports we are now receiving from our ground-level sources in Iraq's government and banking sector are no longer vague hints, they are concrete, corroborated signals of intensifying high-stakes discussions, of policy documents being drafted, of legislative frameworks being fast-tracked through Parliament, all pointing towards a single, unified goal, the complete revaluation and international reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar. This is not about a minor adjustment of a few fils or a slight nudge in the exchange rate to appease a temporary inflationary trend. This is about a fundamental transformation, a currency reset that will see the IQD decoupled from the dollar-dominant system and re-anchored to the true, immense wealth of the Iraqi nation itself, a wealth that is not just theoretical, but physically buried under its vast deserts and flowing through its ancient rivers. Think about the sheer, almost incomprehensible scale of Iraq's natural resources for a moment. We are talking about a country sitting on one of the largest proven oil reserves on the entire planet, a treasure trove of black gold that has been extracted and sold for decades, generating trillions of dollars in global revenue. Yet the people of Iraq have never seen the true financial benefit of this wealth reflected in the value of their own national currency, a cruel paradox that has fueled decades of instability and poverty. This, right here, is the core of the entire revaluation argument, the undeniable, non-negotiable truth that makes the current exchange rate a mathematical and economic absurdity. A nation so phenomenally rich in tangible, in demand, real-world assets cannot logically sustain a currency that is valued as a fraction of a penny indefinitely, and the internal pressure from the Iraqi populace, who are demanding a better quality of life and a stronger purchasing power for their money, has finally reached a boiling point that the government can no longer ignore. The recent moves by the Central Bank of Iraq are not isolated technicalities, they are the calculated, sequential steps of a grand strategy, from the push towards a digital payment infrastructure to reduce the mammoth cash-based economy, to the direct international trading of the dinar for oil and other commodities, bypassing the US dollar entirely in deals with nations like China and India, creating a new, independent financial ecosystem. Every single one of these actions is a deliberate brick being laid on the road to revaluation, a purposeful move to strengthen the currency's foundation before the final, monumental shift is officially announced to the world. The intensifying discussions in Baghdad that we are tracking are not debating if this will happen anymore. The dialogue has decisively shifted to when and how the new rate will be implemented, managed, and integrated into the global forex markets, with the target of 2025 emerging not as a random date, but as the logical culmination point of this multi-year economic reform plan. To dismiss this as mere speculation at this critical juncture is to ignore a mountain of empirical evidence, on-the-ground testimony, and the cold, hard logic of geopolitics and resource economics. Iraq is on an irrevocable path to financial normalization, and the $3 dinar is not a fantastical dream, but the mathematical endpoint of that journey, a necessary correction to one of the greatest monetary mispricings in human history. The shockwave has been triggered. The only question that remains is whether you are positioned to feel its power or if you will be left standing on the sidelines, wondering what happened when the world suddenly, and irrevocably, changed. Now, I can already hear the skeptics shouting, their voices dripping with decades of conditioned doubt, asking for one single, irrefutable piece of evidence that this time is different, that this isn't just another cycle of hype destined to fizzle out into disappointment. And to those skeptics, I present not a rumor, not a vague prediction, but a tangible, seismic event that has already happened and is currently reshaping the entire financial landscape of Southeast Asia, an event that serves as the most powerful and direct parallel to what is about to unfold in Iraq, the recent and dramatic revaluation of the Vietnamese Dong. Let's be perfectly clear, the Vietnamese Dong story is not a separate narrative, it is the blueprint, the live-fire test, the undeniable proof of concept that a sovereign nation, once entangled in a complex web of international debt and a suppressed currency, can successfully orchestrate a monumental monetary reset. And the stunning success of Vietnam is now the primary talking point in every closed-door meeting in Baghdad, the concrete example held up by Iraqi economic reformers to silence the naysayers and prove that their own ambitious goals are not only possible but are, in fact, the next logical domino to fall in a global financial reordering. The parallels are not just striking, they are chillingly identical, from the decades of being pegged at an artificially low rate to benefit foreign trade and debt repayment, to the mounting internal pressure from a young, ambitious population demanding economic justice, to the strategic, step-by-step dismantling of the old financial system in favor of a modern, transparent, and powerful monetary framework. Vietnam executed this playbook with precision, navigating the transition from a currency viewed as a speculative gamble to a strong, internationally recognized store of value, and in doing so, they did not just change their exchange rate, they changed their entire national destiny, unlocking unprecedented foreign investment, skyrocketing their citizens' standard of living, and cementing their place as a new economic powerhouse on the world stage. This is the exact future that Iraq is now chasing with a ferocious intensity, and the lessons from Hanoi are being studied, absorbed, and implemented with even greater urgency in the halls of the Central Bank of Iraq, because the Iraqi leadership understands a fundamental truth that the outside world is still catching up to. They are holding a far stronger hand of economic cards than Vietnam ever did, with their immeasurable oil wealth acting as the ultimate collateral, the golden guarantee that makes their eventual revaluation not a risky experiment, but a financial inevitability. The why now question finds its answer in this global context. The world is visibly shifting away from a US dollar-dominated system, with BRICS nations and their allies actively building alternative financial networks, and Iraq, strategically positioned between East and West, is seizing this historic opportunity to launch its currency into this new multipolar world, not as a weak petitioner, but as a formidable energy titan demanding a fair price for its national monetary unit. The intensifying discussions we flagged earlier are specifically focused on the mechanical logistics of this transition, on the delicate timing of the announcement to maximize global impact and minimize speculative chaos, on the precise exchange rate mechanism that will be deployed, with the $3 figure emerging not from hopeful speculation, but from sophisticated internal economic models that calculate the true, asset-backed purchasing power parity of the Iraqi dinar once it is liberated from its artificial constraints. This is why the comparison to the Vietnamese Dong is the master key to understanding the entire Iraqi dinar narrative. It provides a documented, real-world case study of the entire process, from the initial government announcements that were dismissed by the mainstream, to the strategic banking reforms that tighten liquidity, to the final, explosive revaluation that created a new class of millionaires overnight among the patient holders of the currency. The Vietnamese Dong was the preview, the Iraqi dinar is the main feature, and the fact that one has already successfully occurred shatters the core argument of every skeptic who claims such a monetary transformation is impossible. The evidence is no longer confined to hopeful analysis or decoded statements, it is written in the successful financial history of another nation, a history that Iraq is deliberately, methodically, and rapidly replicating on a grander, more impactful scale. To ignore the precedent set by Vietnam is to willfully blind yourself to the most significant financial trend of our time, the great global currency reset, and to miss the single greatest wealth transfer opportunity of the last half-century. The blueprint for success is not hidden, it is being executed in plain sight, and the next chapter is already being written in Baghdad. So, we stand here today at the most critical juncture, the final crossroads between the world of financial doubt and the dawn of a new era of economic sovereignty, with the evidence laid bare, the historical parallels drawn with undeniable clarity, and the internal mechanisms of the Iraqi government and central bank moving with a synchronized purpose that cannot be ignored, which leads us to the only question that truly matters for you, the viewer, right here, right now. What will you do with this information? Will you file it away as an interesting theory, something to maybe look back on in 2025 with a sense of nostalgic curiosity, or will you recognize this moment for what it truly is, the final warning, the last clear signal before the gates of opportunity slam shut forever, leaving those who hesitated on the outside of a wealth event that will redefine entire bloodlines and personal legacies? Let me be unequivocally direct. The path to monumental financial change is never a crowded one at the beginning, because the human mind is conditioned to seek comfort in the familiar, in the consensus, in the reassuring voices of the mainstream that have been wrong about every single major economic shift in history, from the rise of the internet to the birth of cryptocurrency, and they are wrong now about the Iraqi dinar, clinging to outdated models that cannot comprehend the tectonic political and economic forces currently reshaping the Middle East. Your decision in this very moment is a test of your own ability to see beyond that noise, to conduct your own due diligence on the facts as they stand, not as they are presented to you by institutions with a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. The coming days and weeks are not just a passive waiting game, they are the final assembly period, the time when all the scattered pieces of this grand puzzle, the banking reforms, the international oil deals, the parliamentary legislation,